honestly, how many women really do feel that way when they look back at those pictures? If you pull the curtain behind what she said to me, was that I don't know if I fully believe that that's even true, though, if I can become that because of all of the stress that is involved. And I'm literally starting to dread my own wedding.
Going to weddings is one of the most stressful things ever. And it feels more like this obligation of, oh, we have another wedding to go to, rather than this excitement of, wow, I really love these two people who are making this decision to commit their lives to each other and celebrate their love. Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
Welcome back, Evolvers. Happy February. It's Emilia. We have a very special episode planned for everyone who is in the kind of beginning or preparatory phases for what we are going to refer into this episode as wedding dread. So you might not be in a season of wedding dread, but you might not necessarily know how quickly it can come and impact your world. So Bianca and I in this episode is going to be a little bit different than what we normally do, which I'm excited for, and I hope you guys enjoy. So this topic, wedding dread is something that I've had 1,000 conversations at least around with clients, with friends, with people of all different walks of life. And the conversations that I usually have with those individuals are more so with the brides themselves. And so the wedding dread for the brides or the to-be brides brings a whole lot of wedding dread. Now, Bianca has and is going to be representing on this podcast episode the dread and the wedding dread that comes from the attendees of weddings. And ultimately what we want every single listener, whether you're in the seasons of wedding dread or not, or you're just someone that's showing up and know that that's going to be happening at some point or another in your life, is understanding and having empathy for the people around us. Because when we say a lot of people are going through things, we really don't necessarily know what's happening behind the screen, right? Behind the curtain, behind the masks that we have on the day-to-day. However, when we pull that curtain, that metaphorical curtain back, we actually really recognize there's a lot more going on behind the scenes in everyone's day-to-day life. And while we know that intellectually, I hope that we do this episode justice to really extend that empathy and have each listener walk away with some tricks that can help them as they navigate the wedding dread. So I'll ground it in a conversation that I was having with a bride-to-be. So she has a wedding that's coming up here now in September. September is obviously the most exciting time frame, I feel like, for wedding people and wedding planners and weddings in general, because it's not, you're not going to be sweating your arse off, if you will, during like the hot summer months, but you're also not going to be freezing and in the winter months. So September is a busy month, right? So when the brides that I've spoken to have talked to me about their wedding, honestly, we've been in conversations navigating the wedding dread a year plus in advance. So there was this one bride to be that had said, Emilia, I want to make sure that this is the best wedding ever. Like, I've looked forward to this my entire life. I've always, ever since I was a little girl, wanted to be and have this day. And as a woman, I can understand how socially we get very programmed as women to look forward to this one day our entire life, right? You see the movies, right? You see the movies and all of these princesses are getting, they're practically having their best day of their life be. And between the whole like experience and the food and the planning and the guests, and then of course, obviously the dress, right? You have a whole combination of so many things that are going into this one day. And this bride, one in particular, was like, Emilia, like, I can't wait to look back at my wedding pictures and like be super proud of them. And she's like, I'm scared though. I'm really scared because I'm not only scared, but I'm stressed out. I'm overwhelmed. I am nowhere near in the body that I want to be. I'm concerned that I'm not going to be able to fit in my dress. Like, I'm concerned about this. I don't know if we have enough money to make sure that everyone that we want to come. So in comes all of the stressors when it comes to even planning this one big day for herself. And we got into some of the nitty gritties around wedding planning, right? And there's a lot of things to do. And what she shared with me behind the scenes really struck a chord with me. And this is really where the inspiration for the episode came in. She said, I really want to be able to look back at this one day and have these pictures represent how much effort I've put into myself and how much effort I've put into becoming, the woman that I really hope to see in those pictures, which is, the most fit version of myself, the most happy, the most fulfilled, the most like stress-free. But when we looked back at, some of the things that she has on her plate, like honestly, how many women really do feel that way when they look back at those pictures? What if you pull the curtain behind what she said to me was that I don't know if I fully believe that that's even true though. If I can become that because of all of the stress that is involved. And I'm literally starting to dread my own wedding. I can't believe it. Like we put so much money into this, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I don't even know if I believe that that's possible is a statement that really struck a chord in me, because this is supposed to be that one day, right? Quote unquote, supposed to be that one day that you're supposed to be celebrating the love that you have for your partner and the love that you have for who you've become, whatever the narrative is. But ultimately, the belief that she doesn't even know that that is possible has spun her into tailspins of scrolling on social media and comparing herself with other brides, which has induced shame spirals around body images and body stuff. Like it has pulled the joy out of planning this one big day for her that she's looked forward to her whole life. It's literally actively pulling the joy out of her. So the wedding dread is real. We really don't understand the extent of it, and how to combat that from this angle is such an interesting and multi-layered process that I know also the attendees of weddings who get invited to these things also have. So talk to me about the conversations that you have with the attendees of weddings and the dread on their end, because I think both are so important to dialogue around.
Okay, so I can't speak from. I've had some clients dive into this, right? But like on a more personal level, the point that I'm trying to make, just this one point. I've only been to big bougie Arab weddings, and I personally know the absolute chaos that ensues attending weddings like that, and all of the people that I've talked to have been in that realm where, and I think this can relate to non-Arab weddings too, but it's the way that you need to look as the guest. So the guests needing to find an amazing outfit and needing to make sure that they stick out more than the bride but don't wear white. Like that's it. Look better than the bride but don't wear white. Then we need to be the best looking family. Then all of the fights and all of the challenges that ensue before you leave the house or before you leave the hotel, depending on where you are, headed into the wedding, and just all of the craziness that happens along with that. So I've had many, many conversations with people, Arab and non-Arab, where going to weddings is one of the most stressful things ever, and it feels more like this obligation of, oh, we have another wedding to go to, rather than this excitement of, wow, I really love these two people who are making this decision to commit their lives to each other and celebrate their love. It's more dread of, oh my God, there's another event than getting to celebrate this day. Then on top of that, the conversations that I've had, it's been whether they're single or in a relationship, a lot of people end up going to weddings and feel miserable because they're single and they're like, this is never going to happen for me. I'm going to be alone forever. Or I'm in a relationship. The relationship is actually terrible, even though I never tell anyone, and I will never tell anybody because I don't want to be alone forever. And I'm never going to have this day, because they see the bride and the groom. It's the best day of their life and they look so happy, and they're not hearing and seeing the truth, which is what you're hearing from clients, that they also feel terrible. And they're also not the people that they want to be. So on both ends,
it's wild.
there's these two groups of people where it's the wedding party and all of their challenges and the struggles and the strifes and the tribulations that they're experiencing, and then the people attending, where it's like they either don't want to be there but they feel obligated to and they have to. They know the food isn't going to be that great. It's just another standard meal. It's like the same thing every single time you go. You don't really want to be there, and you're contemplating your own life and your own relationships.
Hey everybody, my name is Isaac. My experience with Evolve has been nothing short of phenomenal, and the community, the Evolve Ventures Society, is just a group of people who are all like-minded and growth-oriented, and you can ask questions and get support from anyone, and it's a really private group and you can share and be open, and that's what I really love about it. Emilia and Bianca have been nothing short of phenomenal, honestly. The amount they care about their team members and their mental well-being and their mental health and improving everyone's self-awareness in terms of being growth-minded and growing to where you want to be. I could not have asked for a better place to be at right now in this point in my life, and yeah, have a great rest of your year ahead and keep evolving, everybody. Bye.
I also think this has a lot to do, and I think this is where you and I really relate with the narrative in our culture about weddings. The fact that little girls grow up being taught your wedding is going to be the best day of your life. Like, oh, there's nothing
Nothing
else
better than
to
that?
me. There's nothing else to me aside from the fact that I'm going to get married and basically sell my soul to this person. Like, I'm not
Become
not
property.
A cynic.
My bad.
Yeah. I'm not a cynic when it comes to weddings. I love weddings. I love love. I am such a hopeless romantic. It's not even funny. Like, I want to have a wedding someday. But I don't believe my wedding is going to be the best day of my life. I think it's going to be a beautiful day in my life, but my entire existence is not predicated on the wedding day. I want to have an amazing marriage, not an amazing wedding. And I think this is where a lot of these challenges come from. There's so much stress about the wedding day because your wedding day, quote unquote, says so much about you. And it says, and we're all in a culture where we all compare to the highlight reels. Your wedding is one of the biggest highlight reels there is. One of my cousins spent like $250,000 on her wedding day.
Holy crap. Can we talk about the costs for a second? 250.
That's a house.
That's
not in this economy. But
I mean, there's a lot of different house down payments that you can make on multiple houses, like multiple income revenue properties. Like the average cost in 2024 in comparison, just for the people in the back, right? $33,000 is the average cost of weddings. According to Zola. I remember looking this up because Alan and I have a relationship talks client, and one of them are in the process literally. But $250,000 in comparison to the statistical average, which is $33,000. And I think that's conservative. Like, where? Number one, I would love to understand, where do people get this money? Number two, where could they otherwise invest that? So just from a cost standpoint, I'm not going to comment on that further. I hope that she had the best day of her life, and I hope that she's gone nowhere from here. However, when you have that type of high, it's really sad because it sets people up for a low. And that what people don't realize is that there are far too many lows when it comes to this dialogue. Even to attend a wedding, you're looking on average in 2024, according to the stats, $580 on average between gifts, travel, whatever. That's the average since 2024. I know that's it because that's someone conservative on a budget. To be a part of the wedding party is $1,200 on average. This is conservative metrics. People are spending money that they don't have.
It's way
emotionally are getting so so messed up in so many ways because of these things. And what they don't realize for this episode is that on both ends, there's way much more challenging elements of like, I don't know if if the juice is worth the squeeze. That is what ultimately this episode is all about. Like, how do you navigate that? So in closing for this episode, obviously, there's so much underneath this. But what would you say if someone was listening to this and they're in the middle or they're headed towards the wedding dread? What's one thing that you would share to the people who are attending weddings, be it the wedding party or whatnot? And then I'll give one to the people who might be on the bride's side or the bride side.
Ugh, people might not like that I'm about to say this. A wedding is very much a highlight reel, just like social media. You are seeing the best foot forward of the people that are there. Now, I'm not saying they probably aren't having an amazing marriage. I'm not saying that it isn't actually an amazing day. What I am saying is be mindful that you are not making this drastic comparison and jumping to conclusions that everything is perfect and it's hunky-dory and you're the only one that's never going to get to have this experience, because it very much is a highlight reel. People, this is $1 billion industry. The wedding industry is $1 billion industry. There's a reason for that. Yeah. There's a lot of money that goes into this, and there's a lot of like showboating that goes into this. Be more mindful of having an amazing relationship and an amazing marriage than having an amazing wedding, because there's like in America, I don't know if this statistic still holds, the divorce rate is like 50 something %. It might even be up close to 60. Yeah. Like, what does that tell you? A beautiful wedding means nothing. How are they behind the scenes? Do they have a beautiful marriage? That's what really matters. And if you listen to this show, and if you do the things that we talk about in this show, there is a much, much, much higher probability that you'll become an amazing person who will attract an amazing partner, and together you will have an amazing marriage.
Love that. And on that, just to add and close, an amazing marriage and like these clients that we have, like really incredible decisions on how you invest your finances, not letting the wedding industry extort you. And anyone navigating this wedding dread, know that you're not alone. Know that comparison bias will be the enemy of your joy and your fulfillment. It will rob you of your fulfillment, and it will contribute to your suffering. So don't let it. And if you need help with that, Bianca and I are here for you. In closing, my episode suggestion to anyone that loved this podcast episode is 347, Why You Need Self-Accountability. B.
312, How to Navigate Jealousy. All right, everybody. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.